Happy birthday, Madonna.
Happy birthday, Madonna. Have a lemon drop cocktail and celebrate and have a celebration. Celebrate all the eras, Madonna.
Hello, everyone, and welcome again to Madonna Songbook, the podcast about Madonna's music, her songwriting, and producing talent. I am your host, Giulio Mazzoleni, and this is the last episode of the first series of the podcast. I am super happy it coincides with Madonna's birthday. As a fan for the last 40 years, I am super proud of the community that has built around my book, this podcast, and the Instagram account Madonna Songbook. It's a community made exclusively of lovers of Madonna's music. For those who don't have the book yet, while stock lasts, we have found a dealer that sends the book worldwide with zero costs of shipment. So check that out on fishpond.com. And on the occasion of Madonna's birthday, I have a very special announcement. My publisher, Antigua, has organized a very limited special sale starting on August the 16th for the book to be sold with a free Madonna Songbook tote bag. It's a very limited edition, only 50 pieces available, so check that out on their website. Their name is Antigua, Antiga, or in the links and descriptions of this podcast, or on my Madonna Songbook link bio. So, if you buy that, you can finally have a bag to put the book in, since it's very heavy. It's quite a heavy thing. Over 6 pounds. It couldn't come lighter. After all, it's on quality paper with hundreds of photos and all of Madonna's 500 songs analyzed in detail like you've never seen before. And there's plenty interviews with the producers and collaborators too. So enjoy it. So here we are once again, like on the book, talking of Madonna's music and wanting to make some justice of her underrated talent in creating a fantastic musical world. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast so that you get notified when the new season starts. If you're watching this, the podcast is on YouTube and Spotify as a video. If you're just a listener, it's also on Apple and Podbean. And if you fear you're going to miss this, first of all, thank you. And secondly, I can say, head to Madonna Songbook on Patreon and please subscribe there to get access to exclusive podcasts where I take requests and tell all these details and stories behind the songs you personally pick. And by the way, you can even win a free copy of my book. Now let's start today's episode. Without further ado, let's take a journey into Madonna's Songbook, leave the chatter behind. I want you to let the music take control. The subject of this episode is Madonna's cover songs. We will discuss fan favorites like Fever and I Want You, and then we will mention all the cover songs Madonna has recorded or performed. A playlist is available for you to stream on Spotify on my page, Giulio Mazzoleni Madonna Songbook, and the link is in the details of this podcast. You can also find it in my book at the end of the Evita chapter. To explore such a wide subject, I have invited a Madonna fan and a super expert professional, Keith Caulfield of Billboard magazine, all the way from Los Angeles. Good morning from Milano, Keith.
Good morning to you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for accepting my invitation. We've been in touch via Instagram for a while, as it proper of these days and age, but it's the first time we speak directly, so to speak. I think I should give a proper introduction about a special guest like you, and it goes something like this. Keith Caulfield is the managing director of charts and data operations at Billboard. Among the charts he directly manages are the super important Billboard 200 albums chart, along with the top album sales and top streaming album. He has conducted interview with Madonna, Cher, Kylie Minogue, Sting, Dua Lipa, and many, many others. Additionally, he hosts and produces Billboard's long-running flagship podcast, the Billboard Pop Shop podcast, which is amazing every week, right? It's fantastic. You catch up with everything new in the pop world. And you may have also seen him doing the red carpet coverage of events like the Grammys and the MTV Awards and interviewing Madonna herself. So, Keith, before we discuss the music of this episode, please share with us what I call your Madonna experience. First of all, what are your memories of first hearing her music and finding out about her?
Wow. Well, I think the first time I became actually aware of her was probably around the Who's That Girl Causing a Commotion time. I'm sure I probably heard the True Blue singles, but I would have been a little young, not super young. I mean, I would have been like maybe 11 or 12 at the time. But for some reason, nothing kind of clicked for me for Madonna until the Like a Prayer album. And that was the moment that changed everything. I remember so much about MTV's coverage of all of the music videos. I feel like I have certain moments of her talking to MTV News about the making of those videos burned in my brain. Like, I distinctly remember how she talked about how she hand selected the cats and the men in the video for Express Yourself. Obviously, when the Like a Prayer video debuted, it was a huge worldwide moment. And for us in America, the Pepsi commercial came at the same time. Well, it came the day before.
And disappeared.
And yes, it disappeared. But it was also the Pepsi commercial premiered during a show that all of us watched anyways, which was the Cosby Show. And so I remember watching it on the family TV and then going to school the next day, and it was all anyone could talk about. And I don't know what it was, but there was just something about the combination of the music videos and the music itself and just everything about that era that made me very, very interested and passionate about Madonna. And then I have been a fan ever since. And yeah, I think that's where it all started, was around Like a Prayer.
Great. And I have a second question, because it seems that the teen years and also the moment when somebody discovers an artist that becomes important to them throughout their life, it seems that the music of that time becomes the all-time favorite. So I know it's impossible to pick the favorite Madonna song or favorite Madonna album, but in general, what is your preference in her catalog? Does it belong to that era specifically, or do you have a later album or era of her career that you are super fan of?
Whenever I am asked what albums I would suggest to someone of Madonna's, like if you've never listened to her before, I typically suggest Like a Prayer, Ray of Light, and then True Blue, because I feel like it gives you a great range of styles and also very impactful career-changing moments for her. Not to say that the other albums aren't good as well, but those are the three that jump out to me that I recommend to people. If you ask me my personal preferences of like what are my favorite songs, I almost always tend to say like Into the Groove is probably my favorite like up-tempo Madonna song. I think that is probably a very popular choice with people. And it probably doesn't matter what era you are from, I would hope. Yeah. But yes, there is something to do with how, so many of your, like the foundations of your musical memories are built around when you become a teenager, like, around 12, 13, 14. Those memories are make a very heavy impact on you. It's not that you don't become a fan of later music, but I think there is something to do with the music you discover then as you are developing as a human. The two things kind of collide in your brain and help build the memories about how both you yourself, your physical body, and your brain is growing along with that music at the same time. It all gets mixed up in your head in a
It's an
blender.
imprint, yeah.
Yeah.
And the other question I wanted to ask you is, because of this episode being specifically about the covers, I wanted to have a little moment before we get into that to ask you what you think of Madonna as a songwriter.
I think she's usually overlooked as a songwriter because I think that's primarily because some of her biggest earlier hits were not written by her. And then therefore I think there was possibly a dismissal of her as a writer because a lot of the big early hits, not all of them, but many of them were not written by her or were co-written. So I think one could say, oh, well, she didn't really write that much of that song, or she only changed a lyric in order to have a songwriting credit. I do think, as certainly the Madonna fans have learned over the years and the decades, how she is typically the primary lyricist for all of the lyrics, and the music is often a collaborative element, though you could probably educate me more about.
You're totally right.
But I just think in general, sadly, women have often overlooked as songwriters.
I wanted to say that.
Through pop history. And because of the nature of who Madonna was when she began her career, where she, was a dance-focused artist that was very visual, was very appealing to MTV, came from the discos and the clubs in New York, and I think largely maybe dismissed by serious, quote unquote, serious musicians and artistes as, kind of pop dolly, she's just this, girl showing her belly button and writhing around on stage. What she can't possibly write any hits, and even if she is writing hits, she probably has help. She has clearly proven people wrong over time. And she's not alone in this. I think even you can extend this to artists like Mariah Carey, who has essentially co-written all of her music, all of her songs, short of maybe a few. But Mariah's had the same struggle as well, and she's had to reinforce people and reinforce it upon people over the past 30 plus years that she is a songwriter. And so it's not just isolated to Madonna. It also happens to many female
Women.
pop artists.
Yeah. I couldn't have said it better. And also the fact that Madonna has been focused all through career onto the main message of her work, means that she has never taken time or bothered going like, I am a songwriter, this is what I wrote, which is also why she took a long time before looking back at her past and her success and her hits compared to other artists who have been, exploiting, as technically we say in the business, their catalog for a longer time. Thank you so much for your insight. Let's go to the subject of today, which are the cover songs. The first song we've chosen to discuss today is Fever. Now, Madonna has recorded very few covers, but has performed many in her career during her live shows, on Instagram, at charity events. There are very few exceptions, especially on her albums. Love Don't Live Here Anymore was the first. It was a track that was brought to her by Michael or Mo Austin at Warner while she was working with Nile Rodgers. She was already finishing the album Like a Virgin. And then the next one that really was featured on an album was Fever. Now, Fever is a great American classic. Keith, tell us about it.
Well, it was popularized by Peggy Lee in 1958. It was a top 10 hit on the Billboard Hot 100 in the first month that the Hot 100, which is our signature singles chart, where Madonna has had 38 top 10s. Mm-hmm. Peggy Lee's version was a top 10 hit in I think the first month that the chart existed in
Oh, wow.
1958. Yeah. So it came
When
out.
Madonna was born.
Yeah. Yes, it all works out. And I think, and though there were other versions, and I'm not even sure if Peggy Lee's version was the original version. I think there was a version that predated it that was the original. But of course, as it happens with lots of things back then, there might be an R&B or rock version, or an R&B version that is the first, and then there is a pop or rock version, sometimes by a white artist, that becomes popular after the fact. I'm not saying this is the case for Peggy Lee, but that was very normal back
Common.
then, due to unfortunate circumstances of just how pop culture worked. But I think Peggy Lee's version is the one that most everyone knew, and I think probably continues to know.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was so curious that Madonna chose that for the Erotica album to cover, considering she had covered so few songs at that point in general, and to then put a cover on an album when you could have written a track and then earn money from the publishing royalties, and yet you chose to do a cover. I always found that fascinating. And then she went ahead and of course did remixes and a video and all that. But I'm probably getting ahead a little bit.
I want to take a step back to what you were saying about female performers not being given credits as songwriters. Peggy Lee is one of them. It appears from some research that I did that she actually wrote the lyrics to the final two verses, the one about Romeo and Juliet, the one about Pocahontas, but she never filed for copyright. So it is widely believed she wrote them. They were not present in the original version, and she's not credited. So isn't this incredible? But it's because of Peggy Lee that Madonna recorded Fever. She was finishing the album in August 1992, the album Erotica. She was mixing, but there was a song that wasn't finished yet, and she was reworking it for the fourth time. It's called Goodbye to Innocence. It is my favorite all-time Madonna outtake. It is so sad that it's not on that album, but from a recent leak, it turns out that it had exactly the same arrangement that we know Fever with by Madonna. She was working on the overdubs in the studio, but the night before, or a few nights before, she had been to one of Peggy Lee's comeback concerts in New York. So she started playing with the microphone and singing Fever, and out of improvisation with Shep Pettibone, they were like, okay, let's record it. And she got the lyric sheets, and in a couple of hours it was recorded, and it was so good. And for some days, even on a Warner Bros. Sales sheet, there were both titles listed in the track listing of the album. She was undecided, and then she went for Fever and put it as the second track on the album. So it's one of those unpredictable things. And when people say that Madonna is so calculated, this is one of the proofs that it just became out of improvisation.
That's amazing. I didn't know that. It is interesting how just in a way, a coincidence where she had happened to go to a concert, and that left something in her brain about, oh, maybe that could work, because maybe it sounded in her brain similar enough that it could work. And yeah, that's amazing. I didn't know that.
And in retrospect, it fits perfectly in an album where she's talking about seduction and sex and being hot and all of these things. And at the same time, it's a super cool arrangement. People know Fever, even in the versions of Chaka Khan, Elvis, even Peggy Lee's with those finger snaps. Everything is so hot. It has this steam coming from it. And Madonna made kind of a different thing, got super cool. The whole album is about being cold, about something that is supposed to be super hot. So, which is why it's probably my favorite album. And I love that. I love that song. Now, you know a lot about singles and commercial techniques and releases and charts. Fever had that strange story. Again, it wasn't supposed to be on the album, and then it became a B-side to what I always call an artist choice. Madonna decided to release Bad Girl as the third single from the album, although the album had a lot of other more radio-friendly songs. And that kind of took a toll on her score in the charts, didn't it?
Yeah, well, in America, so yes, Bad Girl was released as like the proper single in the United States. Back then, back in the old days, um, in order to chart on the Hot 100, you had to have a physical single, like a CD single or a cassette single, a vinyl single available to purchase um, at retail stores
To be eligible for the
to be
charts.
eligible to chart. And so Bad Girl was the what we would call the A side of the single, essentially the first song on the single, and Fever was effectively the B side. She promoted Bad Girl to pop radio, and there was a video, but there was also a video for Fever, and there were dance mixes for Fever. And Fever was promoted to dance clubs in America. So on our charts, Bad Girl charted on the Hot 100. Fever did not chart on the Hot 100, but it was a number one hit on our dance club songs chart. As for Bad Girl, it went to number 36 on the Hot 100, which is uh, a dark time for a chart fan of Madonna, because that was the first time that she had missed the top 20 of the Hot 100 since, well, she had debuted on the chart. Yeah. Well, Holiday went to number 16. So all of her songs, yeah, but that her first single to chart was Holiday, and every song, every single from Holiday through Deeper and Deeper had reached the top 20. And the only songs I believe that had missed the top 20 at that point were Holiday and then Oh Father, which reached number 20. And so when Bad Girl,
choice for a single.
yes, yes, at that point, I think Madonna was perhaps maybe had a. This is just my theory.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and this is probably with a lot of artists, maybe the artist and the label has an agreement where they, maybe they collaborate on the single choices for the first one or two songs, and then maybe the third and fourth songs, the artist gets to have more of a preference. Because that's the only thing I can think of as to why something like Oh Father or Bad Girl would be released as a commercial single, because they don't have a lot of obvious commercial success.
Right. Or Bedtime Story.
No.
Or Drowned World in Europe.
Yeah.
All of these things. Yes. Madonna is often, again, for being someone considered to be so manipulative and marketing control, she has often chosen artist songs. Even starting the whole project with Erotica was a challenge, or American Life with another album that could have had much better luck if she had gone to radio with other songs from that record. The crazy thing with Fever, it seemed that the popularity of the song was growing and growing, because you mentioned the song having a video, but it came like 3 months after Bad Girl was released, and she had gone to Saturday Night Live to sing both songs, amazingly, by the way. It felt like, I understand from my interviews with Warner in Europe that they withheld the remixes from the maxi single of Bad Girl because they thought they deserved to be on a proper single. So they gave feedback to Madonna and her manager at the time, Freddie Demand, to work more on the song. And she got all this feedback and saw that the album was doing better in Europe than in America because of all the sex backlash. So I think the video came in she recorded it in April and probably released it in early May. And that's when she revamped the song with that remix from Daniel Abraham, who's a great sound engineer. He did the Notorious album with Duran Duran, just for example. I interviewed him for my book and explained to me how Freddie Demand suggested that he contacted Daniel Abraham for being the one that turned songs without changing them massively into more radio friendly and suited for airplay. And because of the album Erotica having all these songs with a raw sound, he was asked to remix first Rain and then even Fever and even Bye Bye Baby, but those remixes were never released. So it's with that version that also got some of the tracks that were not in the album track, including Nikki and Donna singing BBs, was the one that Madonna took to the stage for the girly show. And I thought that the performance was memorable. Did you get to see that show?
Oh, no, I did not get to see it live. My first Madonna concert well, the first Madonna tour that I saw was the Drowned World tour. The first time I saw Madonna perform was, uh, it would have been before that, at the 1998 MTV Video Music Awards. Yes, when she did Ray of Light and Shanti. Yes. Yeah, no, but I was the girly show. I at the time I was in California, and the girly show never came to California. And before that, I was really kind of too young to kind of realize and get myself together and get myself to the Blonde Ambition tour, which clearly I really should have. But you know, I was a young child and didn't really know any better.
Right. Well, it happened to me with the Who's That Girl tour. I was too young and my parents were too lazy to take me and I couldn't go, which explains why my very first concert ever was only 3 years later with Blonde Ambition. I jumped on a train and traveled all the way to Rome to see it.
Wow.
At that age, you start moving around, you know, it's different than when you're younger. So I totally get what you said.
Was the Who's That Girl tour that came to Italy that you missed, was that one of, I guess, well, did she play multiple Italian shows?
She did 2 dates, but the one that they broadcast was the one I was supposed to go. The whole country was talking about her all summer because the shows were supposed to be in Milan, but they were not giving her permission to step on the field because it was too close to the beginning of the championship, of football championship. And which was very close to where I was born, in the suburbs here in Milan. And when they moved the show to Torino, I was like,
oh no.
And watched it on TV.
Wow.
Because it was live broadcast. 14 million people watched it live.
Just in Italy, or?
Yeah, just in Italy.
That's incredible.
David Letterman was here, and he said in his show when he was here on holiday, and he said that shops were shutting down and restaurants, they were closing down the kitchens down for everybody to watch the show.
Wow.
He did say it on that show where he hosted Sandra Bernhard and Madonna.
Oh, wow.
But Madonna didn't let him finish the story because she didn't care. She was there to provoke, as usual.
Of course.
She didn't care about taking compliments. But before we get to I Want You, I want to show you, Keith, and to all the viewers of the podcast, if you're not listening, you're watching on YouTube and Spotify, this precious single of mine. I really care about this one because it's quite rare. It's the German print edition of the single. In the UK, they had a picture disc. All over Europe, it was hard to find 7-inch singles. This was the end of that era. They were starting to sell just CDs. So I think I found it a year ago and super proud of that. And I love the picture from the Bad Girl video.
Wait, don't go away. Don't go away. What's the track list? What's the A side and the B side?
Good questions. It's the album edit and the radio edit remix.
And the radio edit remix is the one that you were speaking of where Freddie had called that gentleman to...
No, that is called Edit 1 by Daniel Abram. I think this one is 5 minutes 11. I think it's it's the Ralph Falcon and Oscar Gaiten remix for the Merc Boys version. One of those two, even the Miami mix or the other one. It's an edit of that one. It might be the one that finished on other compilations, but I'm digressing. I'm not really sure. I'm unprepared. Help me. Let's move on to the next song. So yes, the second song we're discussing today is I Want You, which originally was from Marvin Gaye and Madonna recorded with Massive Attack. Keith, tell us about I Want You by Marvin Gaye.
Marvin Gaye's version reached number 15 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1976. Marvin had been a huge figure in R&B music in the 60s and the early 1970s. By the sort of the later end of the 1970s, his commercial success had kind of tempered a little bit, but this was still one of his most popular songs of that era. And I find it to be a very curious choice for Madonna to cover. And I know a little bit about why Madonna did it.
But I want to ask you more about the original because I really like it. This is the I Want You album by Marvin Gaye. Although I cherish this record, a remaster, a beautiful one, which also include After the Dance, which is a song Madonna covered during the Girly Show in the Everybody fan out. There was a mix of several songs from the R&B days. I understand that Marvin Gaye, like you said, in the late 70s, gave a twist to his career, stopped being the pop artist and was more experimental.
Mm-hmm.
But although I don't know much about him, my perception is that he really explored sexuality, especially with Let's Get It On and other records,
Yeah.
and was very intense and was also met by resistance by Motown and even in the end with his father manager who happened to kill him. Is that what happened to him?
I do not know enough to speak incredibly intelligently about details of his life. You are correct, though, in that he did meet resistance from his record label, Motown, who, as Stevie Wonder did as well in the earlier days, because Motown was being a record label and looking for likely what would be commercially successful songs and albums. And when an artist who is as great and visionary as Marvin Gaye or Stevie Wonder has grander ideas that may conflict with what a record label thinks is going to be successful, that can be a challenge. And you are correct also that Marvin Gaye did have songs that were more still romantic, but a little bit more sort of, sexually charged. I mean, Sexual Healing is one of his, biggest songs, for Pete's sakes. But it was never vulgar. It was never to sort of reference a Madonna song. So yes, you are correct in all of that. And he did have a tragic end, unfortunately, and it's terrible that he was taken away from us in such a tragic fashion.
I think all of these reasons, thanks for sharing this, because all of these elements to me have built the opinion, as you were wondering, on why Madonna chose to record this song. She was approached by Motown, who were putting together a compilation album of various artists covering Marvin Gaye songs called Inner City Blues in 1995. And I don't know if she personally picked the song because she was approached by Nelly Hooper and Massive Attack, and maybe they had already chosen the track. But what convinced her probably was something of feeling compassion for this type of artist and probably identifying with his mission as an artist to not necessarily just deliver pop hits, but to experiment. I see Madonna as a very experimental artist, despite of the reputation that she might have. And probably that is why she also wanted to completely change that song, because the original version is an R&B hit. And what she did with Massive Attack is very sparse, is very sophisticated. It has obviously some trip-hop elements. Massive Attack are a trio. I think they're a duo now, from Bristol, from the sound of the trip-hop world. And I know for sure that Madonna was a super fan of them way before their breakthrough with the Mezzanine album, which was about 4 years later. She worked with Nelly Hooper and did say to him, I would like to work with Massive Attack. So the opportunity came. One fun fact that I found out is that she was the third artist approached to sing this song. 2 others turned it down or couldn't record it or meet the deadlines. So they called Madonna because Nelly Hooper was like, she wants to work with you.
Who were the other 2 artists?
Unbelievably, Chaka Khan turned it down, and Aaron Neville couldn't record it in time, so they turned to Madonna.
I like the way Madonna is your third choice. Like incredibly, that is just hilarious.
And well, if that is hilarious, wait for this. I found out that Teardrop was supposed to be sung by Madonna.
Really?
Yeah. 3D and Daddy G were actually against this idea, while the third member, Andrew Vowles, was in favor. And the rumor has it that eventually he left the band when they decided not to have Madonna and chose Liz Fraser instead. But that's what he said. But, That is more
Wow.
in the rumors department.
Wow.
But
Okay.
for sure, they did consider Madonna for Teardrops. Can you imagine?
Wow. How incredible.
Yeah.
Um, well, I'm glad Shaka and Aaron Neville passed, and therefore we got Madonna on I Want You.
That was a frustrating experience for Madonna, meaning that she did a wonderful recording, but she loved the song so much that she wanted it to be her single. But because of contractual reasons, obviously Motown wanted to push their album, Inner City Blues, and she was at the same time, or just slightly after that, releasing Something to Remember. So she had already filmed and produced the video and had to withhold from working the song. So I cannot ask you what the chart position for I Want You was in America because it wasn't a single.
Was it a single outside of America? Did it ever get released as a commercial single outside of America?
Neither. No, never. Never
So
anywhere.
so
Tom blocked it.
Motown didn't want Madonna. So I just want to make sure. Motown did not grant Madonna single rights to release a commercial single for I Want You, because obviously this was a recording she had done for a Motown album,
Yeah.
because Motown wanted to promote the purchase of the full album. So if you heard I Want You or saw the video, you couldn't go buy the single and only pay a few dollars. You had to go pay the $10 or $15 to buy the entire CD for the album if you wanted to get the Madonna track, which is understandable. We were in that era where some artists just didn't release physical singles, and therefore you had to buy an entire album to get the song that you wanted. But you'd think they would have worked this out before she had bothered to make a music video.
Isn't it? I agree too. But she'd made it public on Billboard magazine that she was not given permission.
Hmm.
Although she had permission, obviously, because it was pre-agreed that she could put it following the release of the Marvin Gaye tribute album onto her own album. And probably that is the reason why she decided to go, you know what, I'm going to have it not once, but twice. She had that beautiful orchestral version at the end of the record.
She's like, I'm going to get the most bang for my buck. I'm going to put it on here twice.
Exactly. The other great thing that I found out during research for this book is that 3D, who was in the studio in New York, had joined Madonna and Neely Hooper, had sent beforehand a demo track of the way they wanted to arrange the song. And Madonna had worked on the vocal arrangements on her own at home. And she got to the studio and she said, play the track, I will sing it to you, and sang it in his ear, not into a microphone, just to show him what she had in mind and that he had goosebumps. He said it was mesmerized. And so were we. And actually, when the song came out, I was madly in love with that song. A great element in that beautiful Something to Remember album, which, as you can confirm, even chart-wise, was the solid success Madonna had reestablishing herself after the erotica backlash. And Bedtime Story was a successful album as well, but not as strongly welcomed. I don't know, here in Europe, it was huge. I was a regular subscriber here in Europe to the sister publication of Billboard called Music and Media, and it was #1 in every European market. I think it sold 500,000 copies here in Italy.
So Something to Remember was a bigger, in terms of an album, it seemed bigger in Italy versus the Bedtime Stories album?
Definitely in Europe in terms of numbers, I can tell you now, but even with chart performances, it was the Warner Brothers top seller for Christmas '95. Another great thing is that it was competing against a very similar compilation album by Elton John called Love Songs,
Yeah.
and it outdid it.
Well, I guess that does make sense in some ways, because the Bedtime Story, as I realize we're sort of getting a little bit off track. I'll just be brief about this, but Bedtime Stories was an album that sonically was probably a lot more appealing to American audiences at the time because of its leaning into R&B and hip hop music, which was very current then, and her working with Babyface and Dallas Austin, though Nelly Hooper was on the album as well with Bedtime Story and so forth. I remember being surprised that some of the singles from the album did not do very well in the UK. But I guess it sort of makes sense.
Take a Bow was only number 17.
Yes, which was essentially it's a flop. But in America, it was #1 for 7 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's her longest running #1 in America on the Hot 100, which tells you about sonically where America was at versus UK and Europe. And the reason why I assume Something to Remember was so successful was in Italy and Europe, and it was a top 10 on the Billboard 200 in the United States, but it was a compilation. And in 1995, this was a pre-digital era, pre-Napster, pre-streaming, pre-anything digital, for the most part. In that era, the only way to consume music, essentially, was to purchase it. And on that album, there were songs that were not on any other previous Madonna album. It was the first time that you could get, I think, I'll Remember, maybe, and This Used to Be My Playground on a Madonna album. So I could see why a compilation of like huge Madonna ballads from the previous decade or so would be very, very appealing to people at Christmas time buying gifts for each other. Anyway,
safe.
Well, it is safe, and it was, and you are correct to your point. It was part of the ongoing rebuilding of Madonna's image post erotica, post the sex book, in the lead up to where we would go with the filming of Evita and what came after that.
Yes, it was a long path, and probably it peaked with Ray of Light, eventually becoming Madonna's second or third of many peaks in her career.
Second or third? There's dozens of peaks. I don't know what you're talking about, sir.
Let's talk about all the other cover songs. Once again, we will be discussing a playlist that is available on Spotify. There's an exception for the cover songs. Most of Madonna's cover songs were performed in concerts or at other events and are not digitally available, which is why the playlist that you find on Spotify is short, and it includes Love Don't Leave You Anymore, Santa Baby, Fever, I Want You, Don't Cry For Me Argentina, the Miami Mix in representation of everything from Evita, American Pie, Sagara Joe from the MDNA tour, La Vie en Rose from the Rebel Heart tour, and Fado Pechinka from the Madame X tour. But there are so many other songs that she has covered, and I love when we hear Madonna covering a song, because it's like she opens her heart into something personal, and it's like her inviting you to check which records she has at home. Do you ever, I'm sorry, this is an old question, go in at friends' places and picking their collection to define them? I used to do it with the boys I dated. I would go show me your records before they showed me something else.
Well, yes, of course, back in the day when we all had, CDs. Now, I think, with the vinyl coming back, everyone has a lot of vinyl. Though I'm looking at you right now, and it looks like you have a lot of CDs behind you.
Yes, I can get rid of them.
Yes, you can learn a lot about someone by seeing, what albums or music they have in their collection, or, what they listen to on Spotify or Apple or, whatnot. But yes.
So Madonna singing a cover is like her showing to us which songs she likes.
Yeah.
Let's go through a list and let's have some fun. Love Don't Leave You Anymore, like we said, was the first one she did. Although at Saturday Night Live, she covered Three Times a Lady, Aha's Take On Me, and La Bamba in that funny Marika skit in 1985.
Oh, right.
Go back and see it. Quite funny. Or also she sang BVs for Thompson Twins at Live Aid for their song Revolution along with Nile Rodgers. She did a little bit of Billie Jean in the Virgin tour with Like a Virgin, because the two songs share the same bass line. And I Can't Help Myself from the Four Tops because of the same reason in the Who's the Girl tour. But then she properly recorded a song for a charity album, which is behind me, A Very Special Christmas, and that's Santa Baby. I know this is one of your favorites, Keith.
Well, I mean, I think it's the only time that Madonna has recorded a Christmas song. You would correct me if I am incorrect with that assertion. But unlike many other artists who have released Christmas albums or multiple holiday songs, Madonna's only done this once with one singular song, and it was for a charity album a very long time ago. And of course, it's Santa Baby, which was a hit popularized by Eartha Kitt. And I'm not sure if she was the first to record it, but she certainly is the artist that we knew or associated.
Identify with.
Yeah, over time. So, and because of the sort of, I guess, the cheekiness of the song itself, it really it lended itself to being covered by Madonna. Certainly at the time of when she covered it, because of just sort of where she was at in pop culture, that it made sense for her to kind of have a tongue-in-cheek cover of Santa Baby versus, her doing, like, Oh Holy Night, or, Santa Claus is coming to town. Those it was very on the nose and very on target for Madonna to do that. And I don't think, has she ever performed Santa Baby live ever?
No, she hasn't. I define it the Christmas version of Material Girl.
Yes.
And again, there's a lot of humor in Material Girl that was missed. So maybe she decided to say, I am doing these things with a sense of humor. But I read in Seymour Stein's biography that he insisted with Madonna that she should do this song, and she turned it down several times, probably
Really?
because she was tired from the tour, she was busy, whatever. And he went to Sean Penn to convince Madonna to do the song, and eventually she did it. Produced by Jimmy Iovine.
Yeah, well, Jimmy Iovine, who at the time was probably primarily known as like a record producer and like a music supervisor, but went on to become like an industry titan, at record labels. But I could see why Seymour would have advocated for Madonna to be included on this album. It became a very important album. It generated a lot of money for charity for the Special Olympics. And it spawned sequel albums over time, over the ensuing decades. And it is I think most people consider it a classic holiday album of the 1980s. And a lot of the songs on that album by Bruce Springsteen and the Eurythmics have gone on to become classic songs of the holiday season. And Madonna's is one of those.
did the cover.
Yes. So it all kind of makes sense when you look at it, together.
She shouldn't have missed it.
She shouldn't have missed it. And maybe in a way, Madonna herself said, fine, I'll do it, but I'll do Santa Baby. I don't know. Like, was that her choice to pick Santa Baby?
Who knows?
Okay.
Who knows? More songs. Shortly after Santa Baby, she filmed a cover of I Surrender Dear, a very old song from the 1920s in the movie Bloodhounds of Broadway, which she sang with Jennifer Grey, an ill-fated movie. Then she covered Family Affair from Sly and the Family Stone for The Blonde Ambition, opening the song Keep It Together. I Got You Babe with Sandra Bernard. She did Fever, which was followed by Just My Imagination as a segue for Rain in The Girly Show. She did a lot of little inserts in The Girly Show. She did Love to Love You Baby in some dates during the Deeper and Deeper orgy finale. Everybody's a Star. I Want You, like we said. And then she did Guilty by Association with her brother-in-law, Joe Henry, for a charity album. And then she did Evita, which is a huge cover project. But just to focus on this playlist, I single-handedly picked Don't Cry For Me Argentina, the Miami mix, and Buenos Aires, the Te Amo remixes, because she was essentially covering from Evita those songs, and she made them Madonna records. What do you think of Don't Cry For Me Argentina, the Miami mix?
I think it is, please correct me if I am wrong, but it might be, I think it was the first instance, and I don't know if she's really ever done it since, where she re-recorded vocals for a dance remix. Yeah.
That and Buenos Aires, that's it.
Yeah. At the time, artists like Mariah Carey would do that with some regularity, where Mariah would go back into the studio and cut new vocals for an up-tempo version of a song. Madonna hadn't done that. She would rely on the remixers to, refashion the song. To mix the track. And so I was shocked that she had re-recorded the vocals, and I think Donna and Nikki, her longtime backing vocalist, also did new vocals for those songs. And it was a whole new production, which gave it a life at certainly American pop radio and American clubs, that the original ballad version, as beautiful as it is, never would have had. And that is the primary reason why it became a top 10 hit on the Hot 100 in America, was because of the popularity of those remixes, because of the airplay that they got, and because of the sales that were generated by people going to purchase the single because they were not on the album. It was a great moment, and it was a great way to kind of continue the promotion of Evita in a different way to reach audiences that maybe,
different demographic.
yeah, that maybe weren't inclined to go see the film because it was going to be, oh, what is this movie, a bio, and she's just doing ballads and ugh. But then when she does like a contemporary kind of fun pop disco moment, I think it brought a few more people to the fold.
It's one of my favorites. I always wished that she did it in her shows, that version, and not the original version, because it's so Madonna. It was so intelligent. Like you said, she probably said this song needs a remix to do better at radio and reach a new demographic, but wouldn't let the original version be just reworked and with the beat. And so she fully artistically had fun with that, including tango samples and tambourines and all of these things. It was very creative, and I thought it was fantastic. I really enjoyed that version. I keep playing it, even with the Spanglish lyrics, and there's so much flavor to that song. What else? The Buenos Aires remixes, and then for a while she didn't do any cover, but then famously she covered American Pie from the Next Best Thing soundtrack. Which is a song that she doesn't seem to like, and William Orbit has defined the worst cover songs ever. But together, they were working on an album, the music album, but they had recorded many songs, including a cover from ABBA's last album. It's called Like an Angel Passing Through My Room. And again, it's one of my favorite outtakes by Madonna. I think she did it splendidly. Obviously, it's out there on the web. Then she covered Imagine, John Lennon's Imagine, for the Reinvention Tour. One recording of that song was released officially on one of those CDs that music magazines used to have as a bonus.
Oh.
It was Q Magazine in England. And then she started working on a musical project or two, Hello Soccer and other musicals that never saw the light. And she recorded If You Go Away, Ne Me Quitte Pas in French, Boom. And then she did I Feel Love from Donna Summer when she was performing Future Lovers, and Sagara Joe, as we already mentioned, when she mixed the Basque country music with Open Your Heart in the MDNA tour. I was very lucky to go to Madonna's short show at Olympia, the famous theater in Paris, during the MDNA tour, where she had a live stream and finished with Je t'aime moi non plus. And that was really wild. I remember the crowd went crazy when the song started. It was really incredible. Also, the only time when she performed a beautiful song from MDNA called Beautiful Killer. And then everybody started booing because the show was too short. It was over. It was like from ecstasy to delusion. It was very emotional that night. One other song that I really like that she covers sometimes on Instagram acoustic shows is Between the Bars by Elliott Smith. Now, she has done it sometimes on Instagram. She also did it live at a small pop-up show that she did to present her Secret Project Revolution documentary. It's a very, very touching song. I recommend that you guys go and look it up. There's no proper recording, but even if they're raw, it's very, very touching. It's Madonna's going very emotional, and she has confessed that next to Nina Simone's Lilac Wine is one of her all-time favorite songs. Then for her sad clown show, Tears of a Clown, she performed Sending the Clowns, the great classic by Stephen Sondheim. And in Miami, she sang Britney's Toxic, which is a song she has often quoted as being one of her favorites. And then when Prince died, at the Billboard Music Awards, she performed Nothing Compares to You and a little bit of Purple Rain with Stevie Wonder, right?
Yes.
There was a performance that was kind of received mixed reviews because there was a lot of discussions whether it should be Madonna tributing Prince as a first artist after his death. Well, she had the idea.
Yeah, she looked beautiful, and it was a great moment. I think in those situations when Madonna is on stage, having to do a cover of something that everyone knows very, very, very well, it can be very difficult. And I think all of us have a preconceived notion of what something is supposed to sound like when someone covers it. But I think in those moments, because we project so much want or demand on her, and I think sometimes the nerves and the moment can overtake the performance. And I think maybe that's what happened with the Billboard Awards. And also, maybe if she had just done like an up-tempo kind of cover of like "Baby I'm a Star," like maybe that would have been received in a different way. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. Did you notice she was very emotional? She did believe totally in what she was singing, and if you look closely, she does cry. She's crying through the performance. So it's not easy to sing well when you're crying. Well, in the following years, she did a lot of covers. If I Had a Hammer, Rebel Rebel, Redemption Song, Cielito Lindo, Ring of Fire, Do Re Mi. She would, sometimes she has learned during her shows to have a moment when she hints at songs and then stops them right before the audience starts enjoying them. She just drops these little things. You can find them on the internet. Can't Get You Out of My Head, La Vie en Rose, Can't Help Falling in Love, Saudade, Faro Pechincha, The Sound of Silence. And in the celebration tour, she did this beautiful cover of I Will Survive. Were you at the show where she performed it with Kylie Minogue?
I was not, and I'm very upset at myself, but I was out of the country at the time. So no, I was not there. And I'm a big fan of Kylie. You cannot see it, but on my walls there's lots of signed posters from Kylie. And I was so sad that I was not there. But it was such a beautiful moment that finally Kylie Minogue and Madonna get to come together on stage. And it's not very often that Madonna collaborates on stage during a tour with a special guest. That just does not happen. So it was an incredible moment. I wish I was there, but it was beautiful in a way to tribute the two of them together and all the struggles that they have had throughout their career and their professional and personal lives, and bring that together, and then also finish it with a little bit of Can't Get You Out of My Head.
Yeah, it was very touching and fitting, and we all believe, we all identify in and will survive at some point or another in our lives. So It was a beautiful moment. And I think it's a beautiful way to end this beautiful conversation. Thank you so much for being a guest on my podcast. This is the final episode of the first series, and I'm very glad to have done it with you. And it's coming out on Madonna's birthday. So happy birthday, Madonna.
Happy birthday, Madonna. Have a lemon drop cocktail and celebrate, and have a celebration. Celebrate all the eras, Madonna.
Thank you so much, Keith Caulfield. And everyone, remember to listen to the Billboard Pop Shop podcast. It's incredible. It's the best way to keep update to everything happening in the pop world. That's it, folks. The show is over. Say goodbye for now. If you have missed any of the previous episodes, all of the 8 podcasts of the series are now available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Podbean, etc. I hope you all have a great summer, and thank you for all of the lovely comments and all of your support. It means a lot to me. Grazie. Let's keep in touch via Instagram, obviously. Let's keep talking of Madonna's music. Yes, on Madonna's songbook, it's all about the music. Leave the chatter behind. Let the music take control. Ciao.